Welcome back, everybody. This is the Iron Dragon here. So today I got something a little different for you guys. So I don't know how many of you guys were a part of the live stream that I did the other day or a couple days ago. I'm not sure when this video is actually going up, but yeah. If you guys watched this stream that I did, I was playing this game Need for Speed Carbon, and I referenced a YouTuber that I follow here on the website by the name of Cleanprincegaming. Uh, if you guys are looking for somebody that has like really good content, very thought provoking content about gaming as a whole, I definitely suggest that you check out his channel. I'll put a link. I'll actually put a link to the video that I'm going to be referencing a lot throughout this discussion here, so you guys can check it out and see his points. Basically, the video that he made was talking about the Need for Speed franchise and how it's just kind of fallen apart in the past couple of years, which I agree with. And I just kind of wanted to make a response to his video and kind of give my points on it and my thoughts, because I've been a fan of the Need for Speed franchise for years. Uh, I've owned plenty of the different titles that have been released throughout the years. Uh, this game, Need for Speed Carbon, uh, Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit, Need for Speed Undercover, Underground 2. Um, I've also played Need for Speed Rivals. Uh, what are the other ones that I've played? Need for Speed Most Wanted, both versions of Most Wanted, both versions of Hot Pursuit. Uh, yeah, but I've kind of dabbled in a lot of the different games throughout the franchise, and I'll admit, I'll be the first one to admit that the franchise has had its ups and downs um, throughout its history. Whereas you have some games that were like fantastic and were just incredible, uh, incredible marvels to play, but other ones just kind of faltered. And I think that was the point that he was trying to make, uh, as far as from what I got from that video. A lot of it was talking about the most recent entry in the franchise, which was Need for Speed Payback, and I, I I'm gonna get to my thoughts on that in a moment, even though I haven't played it, at least from everything that I've seen and everything that I've heard, and I'll kind of dabble in that in a minute. But what I wanted to discuss was he mentioned a lot about different games that he thought weren't that great throughout the franchise. He lists off a bunch of titles that he said were were good because they focused on kind of rehashing old ideas that they've already come up with. Most notably, he pointed out Most Wanted and the Hot Pursuit games, and uh, I have no issue with that because I liked both of those games, honestly. Hot Pursuit was still really good. I loved the both versions of Most Wanted. The original one that came out in like 2005, 2006, I think, and then there was the other one that came out in like 2010, 2013, something like that. And then you had both versions of Hot Pursuit, the one that came out in the 90s and then the one that came out in 2011. But he kind of stated that he thought that it would have been better for them to it would have been better had they had ideas that they could have based it off of due to the fact that these were some of these were new ideas and some of them were kind of ideas that they could rehash and just improve off of those ideas. So he said games like Need for Speed Carbon just were kind of average to mediocre at best. or outright terrible to mediocre, I believe is what he said. At that kind of that, I'm not gonna lie, that kind of hurt my soul a little bit because I love Need for Speed Carbon and some of the more original ideas that they've come up with in some of the other games. Granted, I'll agree that you know a lot of them do falter at some points, and like to give a bit of kind of a topic of discussion as to why I wanted to talk about this is because uh, I loved I love racing games, and I still have kind of a loving relationship with racing video games, from you know crazy arcadey cartoony racers like Sonic and Sega All Stars, Mario Kart, Crash Team Racing, uh, so much so that like you know I love those games, and I will still play those games any point in time, any time of day. You get, if I can get my hands on it, I will play it, and there's no disputing that. Like I will play any type of racer that you can give me to try out. But I've always liked the distinction between the two different types of racers. Like there's the arcade racers, which is kind of like Need for Speed, Midnight Club, Blur, Split Second, Burnout, Motorstorm, stuff like that, where it's just kind of stuff that you would never be able to do in a game like Forza Motorsport or a Gran Turismo type title, or even what was that? I think it was called Grid. It was another like sport racing type of game. So it's interesting. It was always, I've always loved the arcade style ones a little more, but I still love you know the simulation type of games from Gran Turismo to Forza. Um but I've always had more of an attachment to the more arcadey type of street racing games. So like granted, one of my favorite games for the PlayStation 2 was Midnight Club 3. Uh, and I'm pretty sure everybody has some sort of connection to Midnight Club 3. I used to play that game all the time with my brothers. So it's definitely a type of game that I take to heart because I've always been attached to it. So it hurts me to talk about uh, the way that things have kind of faltered in like the most recent years. And Need for Speed has always been like one of the biggest arcade racers ever. So I've always loved those games, and I've always loved playing them and trying out all of the new stuff and the new features that they put in the game. And it's interesting to see how things have kind of changed throughout the years, and seeing like all of this new stuff that they could come up with, especially once we got to the age of like they where they used to where like customization started becoming such a big thing, and it was like one of those things where you could tell a game was really starting to become the next gen thing when you could add customization into everything. So you started seeing like you know creative characters, and one of the biggest things for you know racing games and car games that became a big deal was being able to customize your car on the fly. And that was like one of the biggest things about Need for Speed that made it so great, especially in the Underground series, where it was one of the best things about the game was being able to create you know different designs and come up with different types of paint styles, and customizing the way that you know your car drives. The faster you can make your car faster, you could swap out different parts to create different builds. And it started to come into fruition once we got to the next gen of systems, and uh, you started to see like even the sims start to come up with these different ideas for customization, as far as Forza, where you could create custom setups for the different types of races that you wanted to do. I've seen people being able to create different types of gear setups for uh, like say they wanted to do just like a regular race or do like a drifting run. They have different setups that you can create just specifically for those types of races, and you can swap them out on the fly. And I believe that's one of the biggest strengths that Need for Speed has always had, was uh, being able to allow you to create custom looks for your cars. And I've always like I've always had this dream of customizing, of having like these ideas of the Forza setup where they allow you to create custom setups, but then also allow you to create your own custom designs, and being able to share those online with other people and allowing them to use your designs and setups. And I think that was like one of the coolest things that Forza did, was it allowed you to, sell or share your designs for other people to use, because a lot of people create like different setups or special customized designs that other people would probably want to use. So it's nice to see that type of stuff, and it's nice to see that type of stuff and see people take care in creating these types of artwork and stuff like that. So it's always cool to see. And uh, to get back on point, I think the biggest thing that had hurt the Need for Speed franchise in my eyes, not only was it trying to keep in line and try to push the limit of becoming even bigger than what it was, and trying to become one of the more mainstream titles that you would see, it in a way it started to lose the cool identity that it had by cutting back on a lot of the customization that made it so great and so fantastic. So you would see like a lot of the franchise's like biggest customization components being stripped away from it. So like you wouldn't be able to create your special designs. You still had certain games that would dabble back into this again, but it was never as deep as it was when it made the jump to the PS3 360 era. And I think that's one of the things that hurt the franchise in my eyes, and it's something that I've always said would make the it would make these games better again. It would make them the best in my eyes. Was if it could go back to that point in time, and the a lot of the later franchise games in the franchise kind of cut away from being able to customize fully. Like it just it kind of strips away its soul a little bit, because if it's a street racer, why can't I put special decals on my car or special designs that I came up with? And it's not like they don't have the technology to do so. So it kind of makes me wonder why they would strip something like this away. And it also started to lose its identity once we got into the current era of consoles, where they EA sort of realizes that they they've already stated that they don't like single player games anymore, because they can't really make a lot of money off of it once the game is out, because once the game is out, it's out, and there's nothing else that you can do, there's nothing else you can alter, there's really nothing else that you can sell to people at that point. Granted, with games like this, you can always come out. There's always some type of new vehicles that come out or new concepts that end up coming out, and you can always kind of make a DLC out of that. And that, to me, honestly, I feel like that would be something worth buying as far as any type of DLC that I would buy. I feel like that gives me at least some type of incentive to buy it because it would come with, or it would give me incentive to buy a season pass because at least I know then if they're releasing, special cars that are only going to be able to be played into DLC, then I would want to be able to play with those cars and create my own setups and stuff like that. Where as other types of games that have DLC, it just doesn't really fit very well, and it makes the game a little it makes the game kind of fresh and new because you're going to be seeing new cars driving around. You're going to be able to test out new setups and stuff like that. But the biggest thing that's hurt it is that in the more recent titles, especially with the last one that I played, being the whole franchise reboot of, I think it was just called Need for Speed, which came out like two years ago, I believe, and it had a system that you always had to be connected to the internet to be able to play it. Even if you aren't, challenging people online to a race, you have to be connected online. And I feel like that kind of hurt it just because, like, what if I'm in the middle of a race for whatever reason? I'm just doing a single player race that I need in order to progress myself further and to unlock more things inside of the game. Then that means if something happens to my internet, if at any point it can disconnect me from the internet and somehow it will kick me out of the game. And I feel like that doesn't make any sense at all, that I have to be connected to the internet just to be able to play a game that doesn't need internet connectivity. It's a single player racing game. But that's something that they really don't see that much anymore. They want people to spend money on it. They want people to, connect with people online, and they can sell that as a service to be able to sell you, like, hey, you need to pay for this extra service in order to be able to play our game. And if you don't, we're the only ones on the market now, so you have to play it. And there's also, with the most recent in the Need for Speed franchise, Need for Speed Payback, they completely just obliterated it. I don't even think that it can recover after this. Right off of the heels of the biggest scandal that they've ever had, the Star Wars Battlefront fiasco that they had to deal with, they decided that Need for Speed needs to have loot boxes. And that's a whole bag of worms that I want to deal with, but I don't want to deal with at the same time. I might make a whole separate video for this, but to touch on this, they decided to add in a system that messes with the core of what makes a Need for Speed game great, and that's building your car to become faster. And when I say that this is something that is integral to this game, it's one of the most central points of this game. There's no disputing that, is that it's the most important part of the game, is that you need, at certain points of the game, the races start to get tougher, the racers start to become tougher, the AI racers become tougher because they're going to be getting better, they're going to have better cars, they're going to have better parts, so that makes them inherently faster than you. So you're going to need to upgrade to better cars. You're going to need to upgrade to better parts. So the further you get in the game and the more money you have, the more that you have to spend on, better cars and to spend on better parts to become a faster racer. And what they did was, instead of making it so that you win the race, you win money, then you can go and buy, oh, well, I need better tires, so I can just go and buy tires. Or, oh, I need a faster engine, so I'll just go buy a faster engine. They switched it up to, once you win, you get speed points. And the more speed points you have, the more you'll be able to spend on, I don't remember what they call them. It's some type of loot boxes that you can buy that will randomly give you different parts. And depending on what you need, you may not get the type of parts that you need or the better parts that you do need. And they also have basically a slot machine that you can put your speed points into that randomly generates different parts, which at the same time just comes up with random stuff at will, and you'll never know what you'll end up getting out of it. So as you end up going through this, you're racing to spend money on loot boxes pretty much. And I think one of the worst things about this is that it's pushing you to spend more money. It's pushing you to the point of where you won't be able to progress any further until you get better parts. And if you keep putting, your speed points in to try to get all of these better parts, but they're not allowing you to get them because of the fact that there's no indefinite way to be able to buy the parts that you need. You're just going to be running in circles, going back and forth to the point of where they want you to give up and pay them money, actual real world money, for in-game currency, just to put more money in on the slot machine or to put more money in for boxes, so that way you can hopefully have a better chance at getting the parts that you need. And that's like the scummiest thing I've ever heard of in my life. And it hurts the franchise as a whole, because now you're out of luck if you really just wanted to enjoy your game. And it destroys the franchise as a whole, because you're destroying the one system that actually helps your game in being able to customize, or being able to, just grind out a couple of races just to get that extra boost, or just to get to that next part, or just to get to that next car that you need. You are putting people at risk of just turning away from the franchise as a whole, and kind of single-handedly destroy the arcade racing genre. And I'm scared of that entirely, just because I love these types of games, being able to play and do insane tricks and stunts, and just kind of creating faster cars, bigger cars. Just, it's sad to see that they care more about creating a game as a service than coming up with something that could revolutionize and create something that will make more people, even people that aren't bigger fans of arcade racing or just racing games in general, want to check it out. And I think what they don't realize is that there are dedicated fans to, what they come out, what what uh, what they create or what they come up with, and it's when you alienate those people, it becomes even harder to create for them. If you turn your back on them, it just makes you look even worse because there's no way that you'll ever be able to recover from it. So if you can't recover from that, you're just putting yourself even deeper into the hole. And I think that's just what I wanted to touch on, is that it's starting to become sad because I don't know if this franchise will ever be able to recover from this. And not to say that there's no way that they'll ever be able to recover. I mean, they do have a big machine behind them in EA, and EA has the money, EA has the resources to create some of the greatest. I'm not even gonna lie, they can create some of the best games that you will ever see in your life, some of the most beautiful games that you will ever see in your life. But unless they change the way that they do business and the way that they kind of run things and their own mindset about, it's all about money. You know, it's not about the consumer. It's about us making money. It's all going to fall apart. And I feel like that's what scares me a lot, is that you'll never be able to see games like this again. And I think that's where I want to end off at. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this type of thing. If you're a fan of Need for Speed or a fan of arcade racers, let me know your thoughts. What were some of your favorite games? What was one of you? What are some of your best memories? Have you played any of the newer Need for Speed games? What were your thoughts on them? What did you think about if you've played Payback? What did you think about Payback? What did you think about Rivals? Any of the other ones that had the always online systems? I want to hear your thoughts. And if you didn't like these games, or you didn't like these systems that they put in place in these, there's only one way that we can all change it, and that's if we as consumers decide not to buy them anymore, and we show them that we're not going to take these types of nickel and diming practices that they put in place, and just the way that they kind of create these games and how they end up hurting the franchise more than helping it. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'm gonna link you guys to the video of Clean Prince Gaming. That way you can see his video, and hopefully you'll like his videos. You'll subscribe and watch more of his videos, because I really like his videos, and I like the way that he does his discussions and the way that a lot of the topics that he discusses. And I think you guys will like him too, especially if you like my videos. So I'll put a link for his video, and I'll also put a link to his channel in the description as well, so you guys can check out check out some of his content, and hopefully you'll enjoy his content as well. I'll also be putting links to my Twitch. That way you guys can check out some of the streams that I do. I also have a Twitter and a Facebook page where I'll be posting, letting you guys know that new videos are up, letting you know when I'll be streaming. Also, if you like this video and you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like, comment, let me know your thoughts. Everything helps out, and I appreciate you guys coming to check this channel out, and supporting me. with that, I believe that's all I got for now. So I will see you guys in the next video.